So whether he's just gone to call for a tyre, there's frantic activity at the moment on the grid, and that's just looking at it from a wide shot, and I can imagine a microcosm of each to get underway. It will now be a 20-lap race, as we've said. That's because of the delayed start, so we gain a little bit of time, although only 1.5 minutes will get back the speed.
You can see the officials down on the grid now just giving information to some of the teams, and everyone's going to make sure that they're able to get everyone on. Toprak, still a wry smile from him on the grid. He's not letting any of this get the better of him.
Well, or at least he's not letting us curbs already this weekend. Here in damp conditions. We had a damp mid-race phase in the Supersport Race 1 yesterday. We of course had the badly was those slippery curbs.
Yeah, what's been key all the way through the weekend when you talk to riders about the track, they've enjoyed riding this track, but there's a few curbs that they said were a little bit like this. We heard from Scott Redding and about the racing line out there. It is narrow. It was cleaned off in this morning.
Racing forward and then immediately dropping 4 or so positions backwards. So there's always a risk that there could be a lot of positions gained and lost in these early laps.
You can see for Toprak on the grid, a minute to go just about, so the crew are going to take off those tyre warmers. We'll see what he's out there on. As I said, that's a slick there for Jonathan Ray.
So Jonathan
and
Ray.
For Toprak as well, so everyone's staying out there on the dry weather tyres. So
it's abated, and so after a fair old delay, we will finally get ready for race 1 here at the Mandalika International Circuit.
Yeah, looking at the commentary box window, I can see red tyres for Tom Sykes.
Astonishing build up to this weekend, astonishing season it's been, astonishing build up to this race 1 as well. Toprak doesn't want to get anywhere near anyone this time off the line, and he's going to be one of the last riders away. Races, which is the countback if it is required. So Razgat Lioglu by 30 points ahead of Jonathan Ray is where the title fight is. There'll be no change as far as
and Isaac Vinales both switched from the X tyre onto the Zero. So the only riders out there in the super soft compound tyre right now, Alvaro
Indonesian round, and for the first time since its inaugural season, the Motul FIM Superbike World Championship title set to be settled at a brand new venue, the Mandalika International Circuit. After the postponement of race 1, 30-point margin, we go down to the title decider. Lights out on race 1. Not a good start at all from Scott Redding. Ray is away superbly. Garrett Gerloff comes through on Toprak, Razgat Lioglu. Andrea Locatelli comes through on the inside of Razgat Lioglu. Redding recovering to the inside line. Toprak pushed back to 3rd, it's Lee indeed. Remember, from 6th position on the grid, he's already up to 4th. Gerloff a little tentative. Pisani comes through as well. Bautista also making progress. Rinaldi comes through on him. Further progress now being made by Michael Ruben Rinaldi. It looks like he's got through on Bautista and Gerloff already. So he's gained all the way up from 14th on the grid to 7th, and Ray, who's burst from the line. Ideal situation for the number 1. He's got a buffer in Scott Redding between himself and Razgat Lioglu, but not for much longer. Redding tipping in there.
And Jonathan Ray, just looking at the riders as well, looks like they're all still out there in full dry configuration for themselves. Doesn't look like anyone's out there on wet weather knee sliders. They can. In these damper sections, even that little advantage could have made a big difference. You can see for Pisani, though, really confident on Tom's
campaign in Barcelona, cutting his way through the field once again. Michael Ruben Rinaldi, after a strong start to this race, each lap around at the end of this 507-metre start-finish straight. Finally, he gets it done. Jonathan Ray turns into turn 1, but he can't get there. Toprak's already through, and Razgat Lioglu.
In races, the championship takes care of itself. He's willing to take the risks here in these conditions. Obviously, on the run down in towards turn 1, that's where there is a bit of grip. You can see that the riders are able to, all the way up towards turn 10, that's where it is getting a little bit dicey.
A little bit wide. He's going to get a better exit than the 2 riders now in front of him. It's a chicane 11 and 12. Difficult to make a pass through there. Redding getting back on terms. Out of position. He wasn't expecting that whatsoever from Axel Bassani. And this is dreamland now for Razgat Lioglu.
Yeah, Toprak out in front. He's going to come under pressure from Bassani. Bassani does look like he's just willing to push that little bit.
Bassani leads here at the Mandalika International Circuit.
And Jonathan Ray knows he needs to pounce on Toprak at this stage so that he can go.
Toprak, Razgat Lioglu for 2nd position through turns 13 and 14. Razgat Lioglu pushed down to 3rd then. Hasn't found himself this far back in this race so far. No quarter given there whatsoever by Jonathan Ray. And he's got exactly now what he needs. A buffer between himself and Razgat Lioglu. Bassani, the gap would be 25 points between them. Jonathan Ray Ray could not take the fight to the final race of this 2021 series. Bit of moment there for Bassani at position against Scott Redding. Still only half a second
slower, and that's why the leading four are stretching away. But as it is right now, it's just who's willing to push that little bit harder, who's willing to see where that grip is. Ray is the guinea pig, and we saw
plenty of incidents over the course of this season. Turning point of the campaign in Most. We've seen drama in Portimao, the circuit where he was expected to dominate, but he's beginning to stretch the tiniest of margins, couple of tenths of a second the gap.
Yeah, and Ray just trying to edge himself away in that middle sector of the lap. As you said earlier on, Alex, really strong in that final sector. Toprak's going to have to try as safe a race as possible for him, as much as anything else. The safest way for that for Toprak is to race this naturally, try and stay at the front of the field, try and break away from Bassani and Redding.
Yes, exactly, that's the key. Second now behind Axel Bassani across the last timing point. Then there's a full second to Tom Sykes, although Sykes has made a few tenths on turn to start lap 9. It's Jonathan Ray out in front, another new fastest lap of the race as the track conditions gradually improve. Raskin behind over the line, nothing to choose between them all season, nothing to choose between them last lap either.
Yeah, and third on track all the way through this year, pretty much every race we've seen them battling bar to bar. Looks like we're going to get the same.
Ready to be world champion, but he's taking risks anyway. They're going to touch, surely they're going to touch. Just about. Jonathan Ray squeezed out of the way, and Toprak Razgatlioglu forces his way to the front on lap 9 of 20.
Jonathan, we went in a little bit too deep. You saw that he had that endo on the run in towards turn 10. He was braking as hard as he could, and that wasn't a plan.
Sector, Ray right out onto the paint, sliding across the white line and across the red and white curves as he makes his way back onto the tail of Raz. Redding here with an opportunity to mix it with the pair of them.
What's interesting with Ray is his natural line through turn 10 is a little bit tight.
It's like this race, let alone this championship, is going down to the wire. Toprak doing everything he needs to. Race victory of course will be comfortably enough. Second place would also be good enough. The best way of beating him, or perhaps more to the point, beating him at red and white curves as he makes his way back onto the tail of Raz. Redding here with an opportunity to mix it with the pair of them.
What's interesting with Ray is his natural line through turn 10 is a little bit tight.
It's like this race, let alone this championship, is going down to the wire. Toprak doing everything he needs to. Race victory, of course, will be comfortably enough. Second place would also be good enough. The best way of beating him, or perhaps more to the point, beating him up.
Yeah, and that's going to be the only option for Ray down in towards turn 15. He's going to try and do the same move again. You can see just how much grip he has on that run through turn 13. He exits that corner very strong.
Side of Jonathan Ray through 15 and 16, and that's exactly what Jonathan Ray wouldn't have been wanting to see. Through the final second, make a bit of a gap, a third of a second to Scott Redding over the line, half a second now to Jonathan Ray. That final sector of that last lap, bad new 1-3, just over a tenth of a second now, the gap to Scott Redding. Behind Top.
Close enough to make an attack into turn 10. So last time around, obviously Jonathan Ray was able to make that move really late into turn 10, but we'll see if Toprak's able to try and get close enough now.
And in this race, as in the series as a whole, nobody has been able to live with them. 3.5 seconds now, the gap between Razgatlioglu in third of this race. Toprak might even be able to go after Jonathan Ray and try and chase him down for a championship win in style. Redding's got just about enough in hand for the moment.
Yeah, and for Redding,
as Redding leaves the door wide open for Razgatlioglu, he will still have the inside though on the switchback for turn 17. He won't want to mess up the two championship contenders, knowing that he's been commenting on aggressive riding all season. Toprak though will have the momentum back into turn 1 at the start of lap 18. This could be a title winning overtake from Toprak Razgatlioglu.
The answer back to Toprak, obviously enough, he'll want to make sure he's able to make clean moves. He doesn't want to get involved in that championship battle in any way, but he also wants to make sure he can get through on Toprak.
If not, surely be informed of the current situation, and as I said previously, at the moment it's all about what the Ducatis can do, because Ray and Razgatlioglu for the moment look settled. A Central's perspective, of course, that will give us a last race decider to this 2021 campaign.
Redding's quite good through turn 13 and 14, opened up enough of a gap over Scott Redding. He's got a half a second in hand over the Ducati. He's a lap and a bit away from winning this World Championship.
2 laps from the end, and the race is finally beginning to settle down, although you'd have to see the race leader. Scott Redding's informed, half a second is the gap. New fastest lap of the race from Razgatlioglu, 1:34.288. He's half the gap to Ray. It's only 6/10 ahead of this final lap. He's going on.
No, and he wants to win this race. We saw, like you said, Alex, 6/10 of a second taken out of Jonathan Ray last time around. One thing for Toprak is he also knows he's got that margin of 6/10.
3 rounds and a half that we'll have had by the end of this race. In towards the final sector, only needed second place in this race to be confirmed. Razgatlioglu, it's been a race that has seen him backwards and forwards through the order. but it's all been about Jonathan Ray. It has come to an end. A new era has begun in World SBK. The 2021 Mottle FIM second place was exactly when he needed to be, hit the front when he could, past Scott Redding in what is a championship winning move.
Yeah, you can see the two title contenders there, and both of them for one another, but ultimately this season.